Welcome to My Career Journey, a podcast that highlights different career paths, tackles tough topics, and shares actionable tips and insights. I'm Emily.
And I'm Allegra. We're your hosts and both career switchers. In each episode, we'll talk about our experiences, learn from others, and help you find happiness and success in your career journey. Let's get into it.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. This episode is going to be a deep dive where we focus on a specific topic that people approach differently. And the topic for today is personal branding, which I'm so excited to talk about.
Okay, and I have a complicated relationship with this idea of the word brand that's applied to a person as opposed to a product. I mean, okay, I remember one of the first conversations I had with my manager when I was started consulting, and she told me to start thinking about my brand so I could get connected and staffed. And I just had this negative gut reaction because I don't know. I mean, do you have any qualms with the word brand?
I think it's very misleading.
Okay.
And I think it's become such a buzzword over the last couple of years that I feel like there's so much pressure to create a personal brand that has to be like loud and overwhelming, and you have to do so much. And there are different ways to approach it that may not be as, what do you call it?
Dehumanizing? I think there's a dehumanizing, there's like a productizing, that's not a word, but there's something there that just feels disingenuine. Okay, so
right.
Yes, there's something there, inauthentic. Okay, we're going to unpack this further because we have different approaches, but speaking of the word brand, we're going to get into our Did You Know segment. And the word brand, the etymology, we love a good etymology.
Oh, yes.
It originates from Old Norse, the word brander. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. From the 10th century, which means to burn. So it would be used to mark things and show identity. Obviously, this was very used for cattle and things. But I was like, oh, wow, 10th century is really where this kind of was derived. That's fascinating.
Wow. So my fact related to that is the term was really coined in modern times in 1997 by Tom Peters, who was a business management author. And he wrote an article in Fast Company magazine called The Brand Called You. And that's where it originated. Yeah.
What a title.
I know that sounds so cringe.
Tom Peters.
Yeah.
So I think, how do you define personal branding?
So to me, very simply, it's what you do and say over time to shape how other people perceive you.
I like that. And I think, similarly, it's just, it's the intentional work of how your values and your identity it is influencing, right? And it's helping people know who you are.
Exactly. The one thing I will say, though, is I say how other people perceive you is because who you present yourself as may not always be the same as who you are in real life. It can be, but it doesn't have to be necessarily. So just something to think about.
Could be some dissonance there. And in some ways that's a guard, and in some ways that could be misalignment, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it depends on how you approach the framing of how you present yourself too.
Yeah. And I think it's a little fuzzy. I found this publication from Harvard Business School professors that they did in the Harvard Business Review, and they identified personal brand as the amalgamation, good word, of associations, beliefs, feelings, attitudes, and expectations that people collectively hold about you. So it's interesting. It's like, who owns personal brand, right? Like you said, you can be intentional and put it out there and shape it, but ultimately you might not have control over that perception.
I'll have to think about that a little bit more.
I think it's fuzzy, and I think it's okay that it's fuzzy. For my idea of personal branding, I really focus less. Like I said, I'm a little uncomfortable with that word. So I think more about how am I living out my values, and are the way ways that people are reacting to my engagement, my connection with them, aligned with how I want to live out my values. And that's kind of if you get feedback, right? We talked a lot about feedback. One of my values is being collaborative. If I'm getting feedback from someone where they are perceiving me not to be collaborative, or in this case, for argument's sake, saying they don't think that's part of my brand, I'm going to adjust that. And so I think that's maybe part of where this intentional influence over perception can come into play with values, identity, brand. But they are different. And I wonder how you think about them differently.
Well, I think your brand stays, like who you are stays consistent over time, but things can shift within that.
Yeah. And I know we're going to get into posting or not posting, because I don't think of my brand as a digital presence much at all. It's very different, right? But yeah, the values are internal. I love the word through line, because I think that is really important. And identity shifts, like our identities professionally as career shifters have changed a good amount. And that, I think, sometimes can create a problem with how you're adjusting or shifting. Are you in alignment? Are you reflecting where you want to go in your next chapter, right? There's all these different things, but I think that through line is really important with values. That's what I ground in consistently, because that is something you can take into all these places, right?
Yeah. And I think aligning myself with a higher purpose or like mission has helped me do that and allow myself to be flexible about what I'm doing, what I'm saying, what I'm posting, but still tying myself back to that core why. Like, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Yep. Okay, so we've kind of introduced this idea of personal branding. I wonder if maybe we go into what are some of the biggest mistakes you see people making with this concept of branding and identity and values, and how it shows up and how people perceive them. What have you seen? What do you think?
So many. Oh my gosh. Okay. So
where do we start?
Okay. So I think one of the biggest ones is posting something or putting yourself out there just for views, likes, or getting attention.
Pandering.
And maybe that works for some people, but for me, like I don't get any value out of it, and it doesn't make me want to engage with the content. And I think it also speaks a little bit to authenticity. It just doesn't feel like it's coming from a genuine place. And then I've also found it doesn't really help with like building long-term and meaningful relationships. It's kind of more of a short-term attention grabbing thing.
100%. Yeah, I think that word authenticity is, and you can kind of tell when people are just saying things that they think people want to hear. And I don't know, most of the time you can see right through it. If not right away, then pretty soon after, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Related to that, and I think it's this idea of just putting stuff out there to put stuff out there. We are seeing a lot of content generated by AI where people are not using their authentic voice. They're just kind of saying, they're putting in a prompt, they're getting content, they're putting it out there. And it makes me so sad, because I think one of the aspects that draws me to different people is creativity and individual voice and perspective. And when you lose that by taking the easy cut to just put more content out there, you are diluting who you are and how you show up in the way people perceive you. You are, I think, creating a barrier.
Yeah. And once you do that, I don't mean to do it intentionally, but like I feel like I lose respect for people when I see AI.
Yeah, it feels a little lazy. I know. I just kind of glaze over. Like, oh man, that's a bummer.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so another one I have is boxing yourself into a niche. That's not sustainable. So I see people focus like on very specific things, and then they run out of content to post. So now you have to shift or figure something new out, or they just stop posting because they don't have anything else they can post about.
Yeah. Although I wonder, so I'm not thinking of branding as like just a digital thing, right? This is still an in-person thing. So it's not just content creation. You can have somebody that is known for that subject matter expertise. But I think the key thing you said is like, it's not sustainable if you're, like going down this rabbit hole just to do it. Although if you're not looking to commodify it, you could just be someone who's, like people always joke
Oh,
about underwater basket weaving, like if that's your
yeah,
niche,
exactly. Right?
you just
Yeah.
that's what you're known for. Great, you want to be known for that. It doesn't mean you're going to make
Well,
money doing it, but
I think what I'm more getting at is like people pressure themselves to like create specific content related to something, but it's not like because they're interested in it.
Okay, this is something that I thought was a mistake, and I wonder if this is what you're getting at, confusing activity with real presence and connection.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yep,
Yeah. Mhm.
absolutely. And I think this applies not just to a digital space, but also to a conference, also to,
Mhm.
how you're doing coffee chats. If you are just getting stuff done to get stuff done, instead of really thinking about who you are, how you're connecting,
Yeah.
how your values are aligned with the people you're interacting with, how you might live out that, and then how they are or are not perceiving you as a part of that journey to build relationships. That's the point of all this, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a difference. Being busy versus being present, two different things.
And also that speaks to quantity over quality too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could have a lot of activity, but it could mean nothing if it's not, connecting you to the right people, creating that human connection.
Yep.
Okay, I've not using the right platform for your audience.
Oh.
For example, like I see musicians posting on LinkedIn, like performing artists. But for me, for performance at least, LinkedIn's never been the place to do that, which is why I never had one
Hmm.
before I switched careers.
Yeah.
Facebook was always the place to do that. So I'm always curious, like if they actually get any opportunities from
Yeah.
posting on LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
yeah, just knowing where your audience is.
Yep. And then I think that applies with like if you have a heavily local office or professional community, right? Where do those people hang out? Where are you connecting with them?
Right.
It's just all about where do you find people to engage with. And I think we're kind of doing a hybrid conversation of networking and branding because a lot of the ways that we're thinking about this identity stuff plays out and how we communicate it in networking situations, right? But
Right.
and trust everyone, we're going to get deeper into networking
Oh
soon.
yes.
The last one I'll have is a mistake of letting others define it just by default, meaning that you're
Mm,
not being intentional, you're being passive. And that there's little things, right? Like in
right.
Microsoft Teams, you can have a little kind of tagline status under your icon, right? So I have
Mhm.
caring and curious change manager, just so people kind of know my vibe from those like
Right.
few words. And so there's ways that
Mhm.
you can do that in a very easy, low effort way that just kind of help people know what matters to you.
Yeah, and I think going along that line, like risks of not defining your brand too, it's
Mhm.
you could miss out on opportunities that fit what you want or that could lead you to what you want to be doing because people won't think of you if opportunities come up
Yeah,
because they won't know you're interested in that.
exactly. Exactly. If people don't know who you are or what's important to you, they're not going to think about you when something that is important to you comes up.
Right. So how do you define your brand?
It's with career shifting. I think it's so important to think about that through line concept that we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
so for me, it's thinking about, and I guess I'll just share a few high level words, but
Mhm.
it's connection, collaboration, curiosity, it's adaptability. And I think that goes from being a career shifter.
Yeah.
And then it's empathy and team building. So there are some things that I know that in every context, I'm going to try and deliver that as a part of who I am and that part of how others perceive me so that we can work together or partner or think about what the future might hold, whatever. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. What about you?
For me, my brand is always evolving and it's a constant
Yeah.
work in progress. But
Mhm.
at the moment, the way I describe it is I'm focused on connecting to people and helping them through tech and music. And my
Yeah.
specialty is AI, and I make sure to prioritize that. But I also make sure that people know about my music background, and I try to incorporate it as often as I can.
Yeah.
So,
I love it. And this is Emily and I have talked about this, but I'm doing this career coaching, right? And so
mhm.
this is one of the things that I am revisiting how I want to intentionally move forward with who I am. So I have the words, I have all these things. I know that people know me for trust and making really complex things more simple and learning development and change. But how I want to move forward with that, I'm like, okay, let's think about this. So I'm doing the work to defuzzify it right now.
I love that word.
Technical word.
Yeah. So how do other people know your brand?
I think this is again fuzzy, but I think part of it is a feeling, right? How do people feel when they interact with you, when they see your content? But I think in a more tactical sense, it's like how people talk about you, So I think it's partly, if you're working with people, they can go around and then share, okay, Allegra does this XYZ. She's played this role in this project. If they go to my LinkedIn, they might not see that digital of a presence. I post every once in a while, but they'll see I do my career journey. That's one of the ways I put myself out there. So we have all these different in-person social media. And then I think from an organizational perspective too, like sharing notes when we were they are in Chicago, delivering out the mission, that brand is felt. It is deeply human. It is connected. It is service. So I think when you're living out your mission, brand statement, mission statement, whatever, it is felt in that way too, through every interaction that you have, whether it's digital, whether it's in person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Every action you take, everything you say, everything you do. So for me, it's the same thing. It's mostly through social media, and I host and attend a lot of events, virtual and in person, and networking as well.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, for social media, what platforms do you focus on?
Oh, I touch grass. I think this is one of my myths that I want to bust for everybody is you don't have to be loud in the digital world to have a strong brand, right? Some people, like, you get so much energy from connecting digitally. It's one of the ways that you found such strong community. My life has been more private since I mean, in terms of being less public. It's not private. I'll talk to anybody about what I do. Less public because I'm not leading organizations and having to represent those brands. So I've kind of taken that beat to just focus on my in-person stuff. But I think LinkedIn is the main one, just because that's where my professional space is right now. When I'm on Facebook, I feel like that's pretty clearly just personal for like buy nothing stuff, if people know that. Instagram, I'll engage with, but also it's just more for my career journey and what we're doing there. And to amplify anything that's going on with sharing notes, since I'm still connected. But it's pretty low touch for me. I'm really more focused on that in-person connection these days.
Yeah, I think that's where we differ.
Totally is different.
Yeah, because I am on LinkedIn all the time. I host a series of panel events on conversational AI on LinkedIn. And yeah, it's helped me establish a presence in a brand that shows who I am and what I'm interested in, that's separate from the work I do and the companies I work for. So that means I don't really need to be tied to a specific job or company for people to know what I'm about, which takes a little bit less pressure off of me, I think, in the long run.
Absolutely. And my separate from work things, I have my Spanish conversation group, I have my running group, I have my church that I'm on the board of, and I'm deeply connected to our neighborhood here in Minneapolis. And so I think that there's still, it just has to be kind of what's authentic to you in that moment. I think it'll flex, right? I think there will be a moment where I am, again, more active on social media, and I kind of just keep in touch, and you help me stay connected with that too, because I see all the incredible things that you're doing. But it's just it feels less of a priority right now than my in-person and my work connection.
Yeah. And I think another myth is that you need to be posting all the time. And I don't think that's the case. I think you just need to be posting predictably. Like when you do post, it just has to be like, oh, it's Allegra,
Yes. Identifiable, consistent, right? Authentic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be every month. It can be every quarter. It can be whatever,
Yeah.
whenever spirit moves you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you see, so the new incoming CEO of Apple, they looked at his LinkedIn and he had like
Yes.
nothing.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of amazing. And it's like, all right, it's not always about, you're being, and obviously it's a very different
Right.
position,
It's,
but
of course, of course. And I think it depends on what you're doing too. Like if you're in such a high profile position, like you don't
yeah,
maybe necessarily need to build out your LinkedIn
right,
like you do like a career switcher, like I had to.
right.
Um,
Not everybody does.
so it's yeah.
We're getting a cat incoming, by the way. For everyone watching
Oh,
this on
nice.
YouTube, you'll see the cat fur that I have on me because my cat's very needy right now. Okay, moving right along.
So one thing I was curious about is how you've navigated rebranding yourself at different pivot points in your life.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about our career pivots. Mine, if we went from pure performer, cello teacher, performer, to administrator, nonprofit founder, to higher education leader, to consultant, right? And all of those different career switches. I think it's the yes and not the replacement. So then, how am I taking who I am as a cellist and infusing that into who I am as an administrator? How does that experience then inform how I show up as a consultant? And
Mhm.
the rebrand has come to this point where, as a consultant, people know that I have a background as a cellist. And that's
Mhm.
important to me in terms of what perspectives and lived experience I have. And then the service component has been a through line too.
Mhm.
So I think, but it's not easy. I did this talk last summer where I spoke for 10 minutes about my journey, and it was kind of a TED Talk thing that our company does. Spoke for 10
Mhm.
minutes about my journey from cellist to change manager. And I applied to do that talk 2 years ago and then didn't feel like I had the pieces of the puzzle figured out to express. So it can be really hard. Um, and I
It
think
takes
also
time.
it takes time, it takes energy
Yeah.
and reflection. And if you're
Mhm.
just trying to think about the next thing, it can be tough. But, we talk about telling your story. This is one part of being able to tell your story.
Yeah. And the more
Yeah.
you do it, the easier it becomes. And it's just practice and noticing patterns and
Yeah.
figuring out, yeah, what drives you.
Yep.
For me, there were two major points where I had to rebrand. And one was when I got married and changed my last name. And
Oh, wow. That's a good
yeah,
one. I
so
didn't think
that was
about that.
interesting. So before I got married, my name was Emily Matsu, and that's what all my music friends know me as. But when I changed my name, it became Emily Banzhaf. So that's what all my tech friends know me as. But when I posted as Emily Banzhaf to my music friends, it got no engagement because no one knew who I was. So what I ended up doing was I did Emily Matsu Banzhaf. So people can make that connection between my previous last name and my new last name. It took me a little time to learn how to communicate that to people. And I
Mm,
realized that you have to make any changes gradually. So you can't just like shock people and then because if they don't know who you are, they're not going to engage. Um,
right. It's funny doing like change management. We always think about our core messaging and the right time, right place for the stakeholders. Okay, it's
mhm,
like, it's kind of the same thing. People are people across this, and it's like, okay.
right.
But that's such a good point because these identity shifts are not always just professional. The personal ones really matter too.
Right.
And
Hmm.
you made me think of something too when I moved from Chicago to Minneapolis. That was a
Hmm.
change. I lived in Chicago for 12 years, my entire 20s and most my early 30s. And
Hmm.
I was deeply rooted in Chicago as
Yeah.
part of my identity. And
Right.
people knew me as that. And then I would still get gig offers and connections and all this stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
Chicago. I'm in Minneapolis. I've been for a few years now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Hmm.
gradual. It takes effort, all that.
But the exciting part about it to me is that it's an opportunity for a clean slate. Like
Yeah.
you're creating a new part of yourself. You're adding to your identity and you have the ability to just show what you want to show to other people.
Mhm.
And if you want to change something, that's a good time to do it.
There's opportunity.
Yeah. Do you have any final advice?
I think if you're feeling overwhelmed, if the word brand still feels uncomfortable to apply to who you are, that's okay. Just start with the through line. Call it whatever you want. Call it your reputation, call it your presence, your story, but think about across platforms, in-person spaces, what is true about you in every stage of your life, in every space, and then reflect on that. That is how you can think about all this fuzzy work that Emily and I have been talking about it. And it's okay if it evolves. Take the pressure off.
For me, it's just know your audience, be consistent, and don't try to mold yourself into something you're not, because you'll get stuck and it's not sustainable. Any other final thoughts?
I think if you have people you trust, you're like, hey, if you were going to think about me, what would you say? It could be a good starting point too. Kind of gut check with, again, people you trust.
Yeah, and it could inspire other ideas of what you want your brand to be too. People can think of you differently than you would expect. And for me, the last thing is just defining your brand can take a lot of trial and error. So once you figure out your why and what drives you, it becomes a lot easier to communicate that to people.
Yep. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you everyone who has joined us on this lovely and squirrely journey of personal branding, a little bit of a squirrely topic. And now that we've talked about kind of who we are, how we show up with this idea of branding, reputation, presence, whatever, we're going to get into networking and how you build relationships around that soon, right? I think if we think about personal branding kind of being like the foundation from which you tell your story and you build connection, networking is kind of that next level of engagement and the strategy on how that is playing out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like there's so much to dive into with networking and a lot of juicy stuff to talk about.
We're going to have to cut ourselves off. I mean,
I know. Thank you.
See y'all next time.
Bye. My Career Journey is produced by Emily Banzhaf and Allegra Montanari. If you enjoy our content, follow us wherever you get your podcasts and find us on YouTube and Instagram at My Career Journey Pod. Thanks for listening.